And welcome back to the channel, and most importantly to each a good day. Well, you can see we got a couple of products here, and we're actually back on our 2018 Charger Pursuit, otherwise known as our retired police vehicle. And we're going to do a little bit more maintenance in this video. Now, in the last video, if you're watching these in order, we put a battery tender on this vehicle just to keep the battery nice and charged and up on its maintenance while it sits here waiting for parts. And today we're actually going to do an oil change on this because we haven't done any fluid service on this since we received it from the auction. Now, we did check the oil when it first showed up, and it was nice and clear, and it looked like it had recently been changed. But what we're going to do today, you can see we have a couple of cases of Pennzoil 0W40. Now, if you watched this channel before, just like you see with the filter here, we typically use AMSOIL products. And don't worry, we will, even on this project. But I had a couple of cases, as you can see here, of the Pennzoil left over kind of in stock, so to speak. I wanted to go ahead and use this up before switching over to the AMSOIL product. And what we're going to do is, once we do the 6.4 liter engine swap in this vehicle, then we're actually going to go through as part of that engine swap and do all the fluids. So everything will be completely drained, gone through, and reloaded with nice fresh AMSOIL at that point. So for now, we're just going to, again, just use up this old stock and go from there. But interesting enough, you may have noticed that this says 0W40. Now, typically a 5.7 Hemi is rated for 5W20. Now, you've seen me do this before, and we've done this before on our Project Red Ram, their 2012 Red Ram you see here, and which we actually upgraded it, or it shouldn't say upgraded, but switched it from 5W20 to 0W40. We're going to do the same thing to this vehicle here. Now, I don't suggest that you do this, but I know that you can do this, and I've had no issue with this. Now, primarily because, remember, on this vehicle, we did, if you watch the previous video, disabled the MDS on here. So it's no longer going to step itself down to a 4-cylinder. It's going to stay 8 cylinders from start to finish. Now, if you change your oil viscosity in a 5.7 Hemi that still has MDS on, you're going to eventually throw a check engine light, because it will use a combination of oil temperature and oil pressure over time, and it can actually figure out the viscosity of your oil. And if the math doesn't math to what it was expecting, it'll throw a check engine light. Because it's expecting to see I would imagine, the flow rate at a certain temperature, meaning your oil pressure at a certain temperature based on a 5W20, not a 0W40. Now, if you're like me and you have your MDS disabled, which we do on this one, and on this one it's been completely deleted and removed, and also on our 2500 it's also been completely deleted and removed, then we know that we can actually make this switch to 0W40, and it's not going to throw a check engine light, and it'll be fine for the engine. Now, I say that because this big old 2500 has the 6.4 liter in it. It came 0W40 from the factory. The Hellcat, which you may have seen in a previous video, is also a 6.2 liter supercharged, also 0W40 from the factory. Generally, from what I've seen, even in these Chargers, if you had the 6.4 version of this Charger, generally it's also 0W40 from the factory. So these Hemis look to be happy, I should say, just fine, or at least in my experience, this run 0W40. But again, that is with caveats. Remember, we are modified, we are custom tuned here. If you do this to a non-tuned vehicle, you will eventually throw a check engine light. So I know I've said that a couple of times. I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I just want to make that clear. So by us changing this to 0W40, it also makes this oil type the same as all of our other Hemi vehicles here. So for service reasons, it also makes it a lot easier. That way I'm not ordering a custom one-off different weight oil just to do the service on this one vehicle. All Hemis, at least the ones I own, we're all going to use the same weight of oil. So again, that's the kind of the reasons behind it. So what we're going to do is get this police car jacked up, because you can see we set fairly low to the ground, lower to the ground than I can squeeze underneath and get to the oil pan and the oil filter with. Now we got pinch welds on the side that we're going to jack up with. But what I'm going to do to save our pinch welds, because I got a standard low profile floor jack here, I got these a few years ago, and because the Hellcat sits on the lift in the garage most of the time, I haven't had a chance to use it. But these are the Z1 add-ons. As you can see, they're the premium mag pads. And what they do is, and there's several different types of these. I just got these from Z1 Automotive years ago. I like Z1 Automotive or Z1 add-ons products. You can see that this is meant to go in place of the pinch weld. It's got a couple of magnets in it, some nice piece of nylon to keep it from scraping, and what we can then do is jack up with the floor jack against this part and not have to worry about crushing our pinch welds that are on the sides of our vehicle. Now you may have to do a little bit of playing to get that mag pad to fit, and you'll have to forgive the camera work. I'm going to get you to go upside down here just so you can see this, but if I push back on kind of this lower plastic skirt, you can see our jack point, which looks to be right here, and it looks like we may have another one, or that's just drainage there. I think, if I recall correctly, that's our jacking point, just kind of slightly behind the tire. And if I've read things correctly, what we'll have to do is get underneath once we got it jacked up high enough and figure out where we're going to put our jack stand. It looks like we might have a nice little spot, kind of where you can see, point my finger, there's like a little arrow on the frame. I think we can put our jack stand right there and we'll be fine. Yeah, because I'm not seeing much else we can put a jack stand on. So that's what it looks like. It looks like we're gonna jack up here with a floor jack, and yeah, again, kind of situate our jack stand within here. I'll bring you back and kind of show you what that looks like. But you can see how that mag pad is going to fit on this pinch weld and allow us to jack the vehicle up without crushing that pinch weld in place. So that's what we're going to work on. We're going to work on getting this up, get it on jack stands, get it secured. We already have our emergency brake on, and we have the rear wheels chalked, just to make sure that this doesn't roll backwards on us, because again, we don't want that to happen, because that'll end up for a very bad day. And while we're at it, since we're in here, we went ahead and got a new accessory belt for this vehicle, and we'll go ahead and put that on. Again, just kind of taking care of some standard maintenance items. But I rambled on long enough. Let me work on getting this jacked up, and I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. One moment. And welcome back. Well, change of plan. The pinch welds on this vehicle, they're not terrible, but they've definitely seen some better days. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of pinch weld work and straighten them out a little bit in order to get our puck to align. So what I ended up doing was that, thankfully, when we got this from the auction, the factory service jack was still in there. So I actually ended up using this to get on that pinch weld, because it had a better fit. Again, nothing against the Z1 add-ons that we got. It's not a fault of their product. It's a fault that somebody has bent the pinch welds on this vehicle, jacking it up in the past. And we were able to get it to raise up enough to get our slightly more stubby, but a lot more surface area on the top here. As you can see, jack stand underneath. The original jack stands I brought out were just a smidge too tall. I don't like raising the vehicle up any higher than I have to in order to get a job done. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. We got the driver's side secured on a jack at this point. We just need to do the passenger. But to show you what we got here. Sorry, you're going to go sideways again. My apologies. So you can see that we got our nice little... And the reason why I like these is that they're fairly low profile, but you can adjust the centers to go quite high. But you can see here it's got a nice wide footprint, these nice circular big wide feet, and a nice big old wide pad here to rest on. So we just used this front pinch weld with factory jack, got it up high enough where we can get this floor jack
underneath, and you can see we're right about this point earlier when I showed you in the video. There was kind of an arrow that pointed in this direction, and that's pretty close from what I can find as being, according to the service data, a point that you can put a jack safely on this vehicle without causing an issue. So it doesn't quite at this height get it up high enough to spin the tire, but we don't need to do that. But it does get it up, because like I said, just high enough that we can actually get up underneath in order to get to the fill plug to drain the oil and change the filter. So like I said, this is the driver's side. You can kind of see where we got it sitting here. We're going to do the same thing on the passenger side, and I'll bring you back. One moment. Oh, I'm sorry, and I wanted to show you this. You can see that pinch weld right there is kind of folded in, right where you see the rust right there. And then also on this one right here, where this is the factory jack point, but those pads are a little bit long, the Z1 pads. And like I said, you can see right here in this pinch weld where somebody just kind of folded that one forward. So what we need to do is bend this one back straight and bend that one back straight at some point, get these pinch welds straightened up, and then we'll have no problem getting our jack pad on here and being able to use our floor jack. But for now, like I said, the factory jack looks like it'll get the job done. So we're going to get the passenger side supported, and I'll bring you back. One moment.
And welcome back. So we got our passenger side secured here. You can see that we still have our factory jack in place, but don't worry, this is not supporting the weight of this vehicle. It's just in there and up enough where it can touch the bottom, and just enough to secure itself so it doesn't move, but it doesn't have, it has little to no weight on the vehicle itself. We lowered the vehicle and got our weight of our passenger side resting on our jack stand that you can see here. So again, I really like these shorter ones. These are rated, at least per their instructions, for 6,000 pounds, the same as our larger jack, but a much smaller profile and a big old wide footprint. And again, that big old nice big old wide surface area on the head of the jack stand. But at least on this model, be something to be mindful of. You can see we got some fuel lines and other lines that are running through here. We just want to make sure we didn't snag those with our jack and pinch them or potentially break them. But same thing on this side. You can see that we've got where the pinch welds have been kind of pushed and rolled over a little bit, so we'll kind of have to do some work in here, get these straightened up, get them cleaned up, and we'll more than likely do all that once we get this on the lift and, you know, pull the motor and start doing the engine swap. Will be the perfect time because we'll have it in the garage. We can start taking care of little items like this. But either way, we got both our jack stands in. We're supported, the weight of the vehicle is supported by jack stands. And just so that I can show you I did it, you can see we got a wheel chock on our passenger side on the rear, as well as our driver's side on the rear as well. And plus our emergency brake is set, so we're nice and secure, or at least secure as we can be at this point. So now what we're going to do is just kind of crack our engine oil fill here. We'll pull our dipstick out, that way we can get some airflow to the bottom when we go to drain, and then we'll pull that out of there. Again, that'll just a visual indicator to us that we have not put oil yet back in the vehicle. Nice safety measure. It does happen, and it can happen, and it has happened where individuals have drained the oil in vehicle, forgot to fill it, went in, taken it for a drive, and well, let's just say that drive didn't last too long. If you're curious, look it up on YouTube. Several examples. But either way, that's out. We can get some airflow in the engine when we do our drain. We're going to get our drain pan situated, and then I'll bring you back, and we'll see about getting the oil and the filter off this beast. And one moment. And welcome back. So you can see we're underneath. Like I said, it's not too terribly high off the ground. The wheels are just kind of just barely touching. You can see the passenger one there and the driver one there, but it is high enough it'll get them off the ground, at least allow me to kind of, again, squeeze underneath, show you where we got our oil filter, which is right here, obviously. And then we're just working on getting the oil plug out. I should say drain plug out. It looks like it is a 13 millimeter that we're going to be using to do that with. And let's see, you can see some more telltale signs of kind of potentially what happened before it went to auction. You can see we got some really big scuff marks on the
sway bar. It's nice and scratched up there right here. Looks like on the subframe right there for the lower cradle for the engine. Let me get you in a bit closer. You can see we got a nice little hit there. So it definitely looks like it potentially got curbed or launched from the passenger side. The driver's side here looks okay. There's just some minor scraping and some minor surface rust, but it doesn't look like it took that much of a hit. I mean, there's no marks on the lower control arm on the passenger side of this. I mean, yeah, we've got some torn CV boots on the axles, but you know, that can happen for various reasons, so we'll definitely have to be putting axles on this old girl when we again do the engine swap. But it doesn't look too terrible underneath. And yes, normally there would be a pan here, a cover, an additional I don't want to call it belly pan, but usually there would be a cover that covers up the kind of the lower innards here. Unfortunately, that looks to be missing. The belly pan, let me move you back a little bit. The belly pan, if you saw that in the previous video, that we changed out with a new one, and you can see that the bolts are still here in the back for the missing shield that should be here. So again, it's going to be another one of those, you know, take care of maintenance items. We'll have to get a part number and see how much it'll cost at least just to get that lower shield replaced. But again, it'll be one of those, again, take care of items when we get it on the lift and we've got it kind of more disassembled than it is now. It's easier to take care of those kind of things. Other than that, she's not looking too bad for having the mileage on her that she does, and being an ex-police vehicle. Either way, let me work on getting that drain plug out of there and getting that oil filter out. We're going to go ahead and get those replaced, and I'll bring you back. No need for me to show you draining oil. I'm sure everyone's seen that 100 times, as well as taking off this old filter. What I like to do when I put my new filters in, I will date and put the current mileage on the filter, just as a reminder. And it's kind of a little bit of a controversy as whether you do it or not, but I will pre-fill the oil filter on this one. If it's something that you choose to do, great. If it's something that you choose not to do, great as well. It's really just kind of up to personal preference. But let me get the plug out, oil filter out of here. Then we'll get some new ones in and I'll bring you back for the fill. So one moment. Oh, forgive me. A little bit of tight quarters. And welcome back. So I figured I should show you a shot of this real quick in case you've never seen it. So you see we got the old oil filter off. We're just cleaning up the mating surface and getting ready to put the new filter on. But I'll show you this once we're out from underneath the vehicle. But I don't know who did the service on this vehicle last. And I'll show you what the oil filter now looks like. But let's just say there was no need for that oil filter to be on there that tight. I actually had to go out and buy a tool that because I did not have an oil filter adapter that would actually fit the filter that was on here. But either way, you can see the filter, and I'll show you a picture of the filter that's going to go on it. You can see it right there. It's an AMSOIL filter. It's a rather small filter, just because of the space we're dealing with here. The 6.4 and the 2500 does the same thing. It uses a rather small filter just because of clearances. But I'll have to research this. You know, we've got a lot of distance downward to play with, so we can potentially put a longer oil filter on here and get us a little bit of extra filter media. But what we'll have to do is research that and kind of see what we can come up with as far as alternate filters, because it is a kind of rather, I mean, obviously it was engineered for that size filter, so it'll be fine, but it is kind of a small filter for a big old V8. Either way, let me get the new filter installed in here. And typically what I like to do, to each their own, is just like the instructions say, once the gasket seats, probably no more than, you know, half a turn to maximum of 3/4 turn once the gasket hits the surface there. But we've got the new gasket on the oil filter all oiled up. I'm going to take care of a couple little drips here, get the new filter installed, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And there we go, nice and installed and secured, not over tight. And you can see, yes, I do like I said before, date and put the mileage on it. So yes, this old girl's got 114,610 on a 2018. So like we were saying, it is a retired police vehicle, so it does have a lot of idle time and a lot of mileage. Either way, we've got that installed. We've got our drain plug back in and tightened back down, and I'm going to slide out from underneath here and show you what that old oil filter looks like. One moment. And welcome back. Well, we're out, it's a little easier to see this. So this was the filter that was on it. It looks like it's just a prime guard filter. Again, it's nothing wrong with the filter itself. It's just that whoever put it on a little bit too tight, in my opinion. You can see there we started to actually dent in and morph the outer casing of the filter to get it off. Now part of that's just because of the tool itself, the way it's designed, but I had to go out and get this one real quick because I didn't have an existing wrench that would fit it. This is one of these universal kind of adjustable ones. You can see there it'll kind of grab hold of the side of it, so we just needed something that could grab it and put enough torque on it to get this out. But yeah, let me tell you, I could not remove this by hand at all, and I know I don't have the strength that I used to, but let me tell you, that wasn't going anywhere. Either way, enough rambling on about that. Let me go ahead and get the rest of the oil dumped into this motor, and then we'll give it a test start. So one moment. And welcome back. So we got about 6.5 quarts in, and I usually like to put it's a 7-quart fill with an oil filter. Generally I like to put about 6.5 in, check the level on the dipstick, as you can see there, which we've already done. Go ahead and start it for a little bit. Even though we did put a little oil in that oil filter to begin with, it still needs more to fill it, and the oil pump will take care of the rest of that within, you know, seconds of starting it. Let it run for a little bit, and then let everything settle down, and then check the dipstick, and generally then just go ahead and pour the extra 1/2 quart back in it. But usually I like to stop at 6.5, just in case for some reason maybe not all of it drained or whatever, just in event to, you know, try to keep from overfilling. But it is generally 7 quarts on this particular Hemi with a filter, and actually I find that true for most any Hemi that's 6.2, 6.4s, and a 5.7 all seem to be 7 quarts with a filter. But I'm rambling on. What we're going to do next is go ahead and take care of another maintenance item. You can see here that we got another accessory belt, a new one. Old one doesn't look too bad, but it looks like it's definitely got some wear on it. There we go. Light starting to adjust. And this is what we're going to put on it. It's just a Gates Micro V. I usually like to try to get these in the green, the heavy duty versions of this, or the RPM, but it seems like Gates is really starting to cut down on the availability of their belt sizes in the different brands. So I wasn't able to get the green one in this particular size. So with that being said, we're just going to go on with a standard Gates belt. It should serve us well. And in case you're curious, I'll show you that belt routing diagram. Now this is changing this out on a vehicle such as this one. This routing, this vehicle has electric power steering on it, so it doesn't have a power steering pump. So you'll probably be looking at your pulleys there and notice that the power steering pump is missing because it doesn't have one, at least not in this particular version anyway. But it seems to be pretty straightforward. Looks like we could just back our tensioner off, which is right here. Looks like it'd be a little bit easier if we moved our air cleaner out of the way. I'm going to see if I can get down in there and actually do that without taking this air cleaner loose, but it would take just a couple minutes to do it. But we'll see if we can snake down in there and do it without it. Looks like it's just a standard 3/8 inch ratchet kind of hole on our tensioner. We can get down there with the ratchet, or if you've got one of the tensioner tools, by all means use it. And I think when I was reading the instructions on this, they wanted you to put the belt around all the pulleys except for the water pump pulley right here. Just kind of leave it off to the side, and then create yourself some tension, and then finally slip it over your water pump pulley as kind of your last one to do. So let me see if I can get this one off, get the new one on, and then I'll bring you back. But yeah, it's a nice thing about a rear-wheel drive vehicle is that all that accessory is nice and up front and easily reachable. So bring you right back. One moment.
And welcome back. So we got our new belt on, and just so that you can hopefully see it down in there, we did position it where the writing is readable from the engine compartment forward. There we go, and facing up. So thank you, Rainman Ray, for that habit. I notice he does it a lot in his videos, and I've gotten a habit of doing it here. Although, just like he says, it makes no difference whether that's upside down or not, other than if I put that upside down, I'll be thinking about it the entire time until I fix it. So yeah, it's kind of an OCD thing. By the way, it's on there, and actually, contrary to the instructions, what I found easier to do was loop it around all the pulleys except for this final idler that you see right here that I've got my finger on, and just kind of take your tension off and then make that the last one that you slip the belt off and onto. But as you can see, I didn't remove the air intake because I wanted to see if it could be done without it, and it is. You will be fighting to kind of get around this, but it can be done. A little bit of a pain, but it can be done. So we got a new belt on, we got our engine oil in. Go ahead and put our cap back on, and then we'll go ahead and twist our tail, so to speak. Watch our oil pressure come up. We'll let it run for a little bit, and then we'll top it off. So I'll bring you back and we'll give it a start. One moment. And welcome back. So I'm just going to go ahead and, if you've seen the previous clips on this car, I went ahead and badged in because we do have a security system that disables the ignition. Let's go ahead and give it a, I'm going to go ahead and prime it first because that fuel rail has been sitting for a little while. We're going to give it a couple of primes here. Sorry, blah, 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 blah. No copyright strike. And we're going to go ahead and power it off. I'm going to give it one more cycle like that. Just to prime that fuel rail. And now I'm going to close the door and we'll give it a rip. It's going to sound a little clattery under the hood because you may have heard it there for a little bit. Yes, I know. Don't worry, it's reading it. It's complaining about some tire pressures being low. What I'm looking for is system info. Vehicle info, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. And oil pressure, you can see we're about, let me get you in there a little bit closer. We're in there about 55 pounds of oil pressure. So that's excellent for startup. We're well within range. Let's come out here and take a look. She's much quieter. Much quieter with the 0W40. And yes, we're still on our jack stands. We'll take those down when we're done. You can hear that much smoother. Everything's looking good. Everything's sounding good. So we'll let this run for a few more minutes. We'll power it down. We'll let it settle. And then we'll check our oil one more time. So I'll bring you right back. And welcome back. So we went ahead and dumped in the extra remaining half quart of oil, so that gets us up to 7 that we needed with the filter change. So we're just going to go ahead and check our oil now that we've run it for a little bit and put that remaining half quart in. Just going to go ahead and get this wiped off, and then we'll go in for a second dip. This might be a little hard for you to see, but we're right about there. So we're a little bit past the E, but we're still in our safe area, a little bit over halfway in our safe area, but we're not all the way up to the circle where we would be overfilled either. So that's actually perfect. And as you heard when we were running the engine earlier, it is a lot smoother with this 0W40. So just to reiterate, we did go from a 5W20 to a 0W40 in this motor. For the reasons stated earlier, we do have the MDS disabled in this. Variable valve timing is still enabled on this one, much like it is with our 2012, which is also a 5.7, which we've also converted over to 0W40. So far, VVT has had no issues with it at all. No check engine lights, but if that changes with this particular vehicle, I'll let you know. Now remember, we do have the MDS disabled in this vehicle. We did that with the Diablo Sport tuner. If you don't disable MDS and you change the oil viscosity like that, you will eventually throw a check engine light. But again, we have that system disabled here, so we shouldn't see an issue. So again, just a straightforward video for you, kind of doing a little bit of maintenance item. That serpentine belt, as you saw here, and of course the oil change itself. Now we do have a lot more scheduled for this particular vehicle, and it will, as we mentioned before, the biggest thing being the 6.4 liter engine swap. Once we're just kind of keeping an eyeball on prices there. Prices are a little bit nuts, as they are with everything right now for motors. Once we get a hold of a 6.4, then we'll start that process, but it's going to be more than just the 6.4 swap. We'll be doing a high stall torque converter in the transmission, and as you saw from underneath, we've got axles to replace, we've got suspension components that are a little bit worn that need to be replaced, so we'll be doing quite the refresh underneath as well as the engine swap. So hopefully, well, I'm sorry, I forgot to show you this as well. I may mention this, you may have saw this previously, but if not, that is the AMS oil part number for the filter we used on this vehicle. But again, as you saw underneath, there's quite a bit of space where it looks like we could fit a longer oil filter. I'll have to do a little bit of research on that, because I would like to have a slightly longer oil filter just so that we get some additional filter medium on this engine. Again, the engineers designed it to have this short of a filter, and obviously it works fine, but I would like the extra security if I could get it. So with that being said, I do appreciate it. Again, just a little bit of a short maintenance video for you, but again, keep in mind there is a lot more to come. So with that being said, I will let you go, and I'll bring you back for the next one. Thank you much. Bye.